What if the second a cop walks up to your window, you reach for your glove box and he thinks you're grabbing a gun? That one move can turn a basic traffic stop into a full-blown threat call in seconds. And once that officer believes you might be dangerous, your whole night can go sideways fast. Before I show you the exact words that calm this down, hit subscribe right now so you can find this video when you need it most. And tap like, because if you ever get pulled over, your stress will be high and your memory will be terrible. Here's what you're about to learn, and you need every part of it. First, the one sentence you say before your hand moves even 1 inch. Second, the line that shuts down, mind if I take a quick look, without starting a fight. Third, the question that tells you whether the stop is really over or if the officer is trying to keep you there longer. And last, what to do if you're ordered out of the car, because a lot of drivers blow that moment and make everything worse. Most people have no idea that your glove box is one of the first places cops watch during a stop. Let me show you exactly why that matters, how officers read your movements, and how you protect yourself without acting rude, nervous, or suspicious. Here's the reality. When you get pulled over, the officer is not looking at your smile first. He's looking at your hands. He's watching where you turn. He's watching whether your shoulders dip. He's watching whether you lean right, lean left, or suddenly bend down. Your glove box matters because a lot of drivers keep weapons there, or they keep drugs there, or they keep registration there, which means people reach for it fast without thinking. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the same mistake shows up again and again. Drivers think they're being helpful by digging for paperwork before the officer even gets to the window. But from the officer's side, that can look like panic, hiding something or reaching for a weapon. That's why a small movement can trigger a huge reaction. And once that reaction starts, you don't control the tone anymore. The first thing you do is make your hands boring. That sounds simple, but it changes everything. You put your hands high on the wheel where the officer can see them. If it's dark, you turn on your inside light. If your window is tinted, you lower it enough so your hands are clear. Then you wait. You do not start digging in your pocket. You do not lean toward the glove box. You do not reach under the seat. You do not go searching for your registration like you're in a race. You wait until the officer speaks, and then you say this: "Officer, my license is in my wallet and my registration is in the glove box. My hands are staying right here. How would you like me to proceed?" Word for word. Memorize that line. Why does that work so well? Because you just did 3 smart things at once. You told the officer where the items are. You told him you're not moving yet. And you gave him control over the next step. That lowers fear fast. It also makes you look calm instead of sneaky. Former police officers have confirmed this works. Because officers want predictability more than anything. They want to know what your hands are doing before your hands do it. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Hang on, it's in here somewhere." Then they dive toward the glove box. Then the officer starts shouting, steps back, reaches for his weapon, and now you look like a threat. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, my registration is in the glove box. How would you like me to proceed?" Then the officer gives instructions, watches your hands, and the stop stays calm. This is 100% legal. You are not refusing to cooperate. You are cooperating the safe way. And yes, there is real legal backup behind this. In Michigan v. Long, the Supreme Court said officers can do a quick protective search of the passenger area if they reasonably think you might be dangerous and could grab a weapon. Plain English? If your movements make the officer think there could be a weapon nearby, your own reach toward the glove box can help create the excuse. That does not mean every search is valid. It means your sudden movement can give the officer a reason to say he feared for safety. Watch what happens when you use the right line instead. The whole stop slows down. The officer tells you exactly when to reach. He watches you do it. You move once, slowly, and go right back to still hands. That one habit protects you from being misunderstood in the worst possible moment. Here's the reality. Traffic stops go bad fast when your hands move faster than your words. So let your words move first. Think you could stay this calm during a real stop? Let me know in the comments. Now let's talk about the next mistake that gets drivers in trouble after the glove box moment. The officer says something casual like, "You don't mind if I look in there, right?" Or, "Just open that compartment for me real quick." That sentence sounds small, it sounds friendly, it sounds like saying no would make you look guilty. But listen closely because this is critical. A huge number of car searches happen because drivers agree out of fear, not because the officer had a warrant, not because there was proof of a crime, and not because the driver knew the rules. So if the officer shifts from documents to searching, you need a clean line ready. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Those exact 8 words. Say them calm, say them once, say them clearly, then stop talking. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it kills confusion. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection. When an officer is trying to get consent, if you mumble, joke, or half agree, that can be twisted later. But if you say a clean no, your position is clear. Bad way. Most drivers say, I guess that's fine, I've got nothing to hide. Then the officer searches, finds something you forgot was there, or claims your answer gave valid consent. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then, if the officer searches anyway, you did not help build the case against yourself. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to refuse consent. And there's a major case behind that too. In Schneckloth versus Bustamante, the Supreme Court made clear that consent searches can be valid if the consent is voluntary. Plain English, if you say yes, even because you feel pressure, you may be handing the officer a legal shortcut. That is why your answer matters so much. Your no does not magically stop every search. If the officer claims probable cause or says he has another legal reason, he may search anyway. But your refusal still matters because it protects your rights later and blocks the easy shortcut of, he said yes. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A lot of officers do not ask for consent like they do in the movies. They make it sound normal, casual, quick, harmless. Mind if I take a look? Just open that for me. You don't have anything illegal in there, right? That is why your line has to be ready before the stop happens. Not during, not after, before. And let me be clear about one more thing. Refusing a search is not the same as resisting. You do not argue. You do not pull the glove box shut. You do not slap a hand away. You do not lecture the officer. You keep your voice even and your body still. Your job is simple. Do not give consent. Do not physically fight. Do not help the search happen. The third tactic is the one that stops a short traffic stop from turning into a fishing trip. Once the ticket or warning is done, you need to know whether you are free to go, or whether the officer is trying to stretch the stop longer. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, and you need it burned into your memory. You look at the officer and say this: am I being detained, or am I free to leave? Those exact 10 words. Calm voice. No attitude, no sarcasm, just a clean question. Why is that question so powerful? Because it forces the moment to become clear. If the stop is truly over, the officer should let you go unless he has a real legal reason to keep you there. If he keeps talking, fishing, delaying, or trying to hold you for a dog, your question puts that on the record, and that matters. Bad way. Most drivers say, I'm not doing anything wrong, or they just keep chatting. Then the officer keeps them there, asks more questions, and slowly turns a ticket stop into an investigation. Good way. Smart drivers say, am I being detained, or am I free to leave? Then the officer either lets them go or has to show he has a legal reason to keep the stop going. The case here is Rodriguez versus United States. In plain English, the Supreme Court said police cannot stretch out a traffic stop longer than needed just to investigate other stuff unless they have reasonable suspicion. That means the mission of the stop matters. License, registration, insurance, maybe a warrant check, the ticket, or warning. That's the core mission. Not endless small talk, not hang tight while I call a dog for no reason. Not turning 10 minutes into 30 because the officer is curious. Watch what happens when you ask that question. The whole tone changes. The officer knows you understand the line between a traffic stop and a bigger investigation. That does not mean he likes it. It means he knows you're paying attention. And if he says you are free to leave, you leave. You do not stay to explain more. You do not hang around trying to be extra nice. You go. One important warning here. You ask this after you've handled the basic legal stuff. You still provide your license and required documents. You still sign a ticket if your state requires it. You still follow lawful orders. This question is not magic at the start of the stop. It's for the moment when the reason for the stop appears to be done and the officer is still trying to keep you engaged. 90% of drivers don't know what's coming next. Stay with me because this part is where people destroy their case. Now let's cover the moment a lot of people get dead wrong. The officer says, step out of the car. Your first thought might be, why? I didn't do anything. But your smartest move is not to debate on the roadside. Your smartest move is to comply physically while protecting yourself verbally. Here's exactly what you say. I will comply. I do not consent to any searches. Short, clean, safe. You step out slowly. You keep your hands visible. You do not slam the door. You do not reach back inside unless told. This matters because in Pennsylvania versus Mimms, the Supreme Court said an officer can order a driver out of a stopped car. If the stop itself is legal, the officer usually can tell you to step out, so arguing usually gets you nowhere. But there's a huge difference between stepping out because you must and agreeing to a search because you got nervous. Bad way. Most drivers say, no, I'm not getting out, or why, what did I do? Then the stop gets tense, backup arrives, and now the officer says you are not complying. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will comply, I do not consent to any searches. Then they step out safely, keep the legal issue clean, and avoid making things worse. Let me show you why this helps. You are separating two different things in one sentence. First, you show you are following a lawful order. Second, you make it clear you are not giving extra permission. That is huge, because once drivers get out, many officers move straight into, "Do you mind if I check the vehicle?" Your line keeps your rights alive while lowering the chance of a roadside struggle. That is smart. That is calm. In Michigan v. Long, the court said officers can do a limited sweep if they think a weapon may be there. In Rodriguez v. United States, the court said a stop cannot be dragged out beyond its mission. That's the game. You just need to act calm, keep your hands visible, refuse consent clearly, and know when the stop should end. So remember the big four. Keep your hands visible. If papers are in the glove box, say where they are and ask how to proceed. If an officer wants to search, say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Ask if you are free to leave. Hit subscribe, smash like, and stay safe. Don't reach for that glove box first.